Indeed, India's electronic exports has been rising not steadily but substantially and very fast. There are several factors that contributes to this growth trajectory. First and foremost, it's the government policies and support, particularly the PLI, electronic manufacturing clusters and other stuff that helps to build the momentum and also addresses part of the disability. Number two, the increasing status of the domestic requirement or a demand for electronics product. So this demand contributes to a need for a local manufacturing as well as from anywhere else, and that also gives rise to us the economics of scale, and that helps us to build a sustainable export-oriented manufacturing. Number three, there are global players; those are looking at a country C+1, and they find India as an attractive destination where Indians have really proven that the electronics manufacturing can be done in much a better way. So that's the global players coming in, the FDI which is pouring in, FDI means the foreign direct investment that is pouring in, and that is adding to the sector's funding requirement. In addition, the Indians are good in terms of the skilling actually. So the fast skilling has been done. The labor and the employees, those have been doing a very good job in terms of catching up with the requirement of the high-tech manufacturing, as well as several state governments have also created conducive policies in terms of ease of doing business and also on-ground facilities and support that included the digital transformation, the infrastructures and so forth. So these are the several factors that contributes to the export growth of electronics from the country. This has been one of the torch bearer, I would say a very flagship project because this not only established India's credentials into high-tech manufacturing, giving a global visibility, because once you do some manufacturing for Apple, it has got a very high global visibility. It has created a reputation for brand India in terms of the electronics manufacturing. The several players, particularly the Apple's contract manufacturers such as Foxconn, Pegatron, some of them are part of Tata Group now, have really done commendable job in terms of meeting the requirements of the Apple as well as the quality and reliability of the product what they manufacture. So this has created a very good feel-good factor. It has also helped to create some additional ecosystem of various components that may be required for the mobile phone, including there is a need of the casing, the plastics, the batteries, the connectors and other stuff. Those are going to happen later on. So overall, the exports of India, the electronics export, I think Apple is almost 50% or more of the total exports. So that gives a very high visibility and also good momentum for the other sectors to perform now. So I would call this is a great step forward. And it is also great commitment from the India side and a great proof point that India can do a high-tech manufacturing. These schemes have been highly important and very instrumental. Typically, we used to always say that India is a bit behind in terms of the electronics manufacturing, and there is a factor called disability compared to the competitiveness compared to other countries like Vietnam or let's say China. So these incentives do help to take away those initial barriers. So the PLI schemes, the SEZs, those have been established, the electronic manufacturing clusters, the central government funding support, including some of the state government's incentive, are all put together, adds to the momentum that in India it is cost competitive and cost competitive to do the manufacturing. So the schemes play a very, very important role. And we have seen recently, Industry and Commerce Ministry has already informed last week that they have started paying out the reimbursements of the various PLI beneficiaries on all the sectors, not only electronics, semiconductor, but also the automotive, pharma, industries and other stuff. So these all incentives, those have been paid out by the government last week, has added to the proof point that government means business. Whatever they commit, they do pay out. And I'm sure that this is going to help further to increase more investment into the sectors and increase the manufacturing much substantial. So India has demonstrated by having this smartphone manufacturing export, India has demonstrated that India is competitive in terms of the global hub. Though still we have to do a lot of catch up. There are several other opportunities where India can do electronics export. That includes the automotive electronics, the EVs, that includes the medical instrumentation, the industrial IoT, the consumer electronics, televisions and other stuff. Plenty of opportunities. And we expect that the India's electronics demand or a market size can increase to $400 to $500 billion by 2030. And that gives abundant opportunity for exports. The most important factor here is still that because of this, whatever is began now, it gives the opportunity to increase the value addition. So far, the electronics manufacturing, the value addition is quite limited. It's about 18% as per the statistical data available. And there is a plan to increase this to beyond 30 to 40%. So this initial startup, the getting access to the manufacturing as well as expanding in a competitive way is very, very instrumental to go forward with a high value added manufacturing. This is a very important topic actually. I just touched upon that the value addition is very important. So India need to look at more of a supply chain resilience. That means when we do electronics manufacturing, it needs hundreds and hundreds of different types of components, be it semiconductors, the connectors, the passive inductor, capacitor, the batteries, the displays and so forth. And as of now, India has got a very limited manufacturing. Mostly we import. So we are just importing and we are kitting or we are manufacturing or assembly. So this is where India need to improvise. And the schemes such as the production link incentive for the components manufacturing, for the display, for the connectors and a passive, including the PCB that is required for each electronic product is going to be very, very important. We understand that Ministry of Electronics and IT is already working on this. Several recommendations were made by IESA and other stakeholders to have the production link incentives for components. So that is one thing which need to be done, and I am sure it will happen very soon, which will help to increase the supply chain resilience and also increase the value addition. So this is the way to go. Number two, on a semiconductors, because semiconductor constitutes substantial portion of any electronic product. It's almost 20 to 30% of the bill of material cost. And the semiconductor incentive program called the SIP, Semicon India program, is already been operational. 76,000 crores were allocated, and we are awaiting now SIP number 2, that's the second version, which will help to increase further additional projects commitment from the central government as well as various state governments are helping. So semiconductor localization, including the display localization or the local manufacturing, is going to be also very, very instrumental and important to increase the local value addition. So these are the few factors which we need to take care of: the components, the semiconductors, the displays. The most important factor what we see now in last few years is the Indian conglomerates, the Indian corporates are coming forward to invest into this sector of electronics and semiconductor, be it Tata Group, be it Keynes, be it several Indian contract manufacturing companies such as Sirma SGS, Dixon, Keynes, Avalon and other people, and also the various component making companies actually. So overall we see a very good momentum. The global companies finding it interesting to come to India, like Apple, Samsung and some Chinese phone makers and other stuff. The local Indian corporates are showing interest and appetite to do investment. The central government and the state government is showing strong willingness of incentives, the infrastructure, as well as the addressing the disabilities by various means, and the component related ecosystem which is expected to grow further. All these things would help us to increase the value addition, make us much more globally competitive, and also a reliable brand out of India. By that way, we will not only become Atmanirbhar, but Make in India will be successful. And we are looking forward to the market size of $400 to $500 billion in electronics by year 2030, and also the semiconductor demand of $103 billion by year 2030, and which is as per the report which is instituted by IESA and which were released recently actually.